Hey everyone, it's Ryan Henry with INSPIREsmall.biz, and the holiday shopping season is officially underway. And on today's episode, I welcome the District Governor for Rotary District 6560 in Central Indiana, Jennifer Stanfield. So don't miss today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Bright Ideas Show. We are here every Monday at 9 o'clock a.m. to bring you the professionals and organizations that are here making a difference in Central Indiana. And today my guest is the District Governor for Rotary District 6560, which is Central Indiana, Jennifer Stanfield. Jennifer, how are you doing today?
Hi, Ryan. I'm doing great. Looking forward to all that Christmas shopping coming up.
I know, and hopefully you did some over this past weekend.
Shopping small.
Awesome. And so, Jennifer, you're here today because tomorrow's a very important holiday that nonprofits have to get into the holiday spirit, Giving Tuesday. So before we get into that, let's talk about who is Jennifer as a person, who's important in your life, and just tell us anything that you want to share with viewers.
Well, I am married to an IT guy, and we have twin daughters that just turned 27 in November, and both of them graduated from Butler University, even though their dad and I graduated from Purdue. I don't know how that happened, but very proud of them and their accomplishments. And so I was a realtor in the Lafayette community for a long time, and started a banking career several years ago in the Crawfordsville area because most of my listings at that time were bank-owned properties.
Okay.
The market was adjusting, and there was short sales, there was bank-owned properties all over the place. And so the bank that was in my hometown of Crawfordsville, where I was growing up, was looking for somebody who thought like an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And so they interviewed me about 3 different times, and they decided maybe this is a good fit for us. And so I always thought I would retire from banking, but my husband's job moved us to downtown Indianapolis. And since then, I've been doing a lot of volunteering through Rotary, serving the community. I'm still connected to my Crawfordsville Rotary Club, but I stepped into a new avocation, I will call it. It's also a vocation, but I work as a substitute school teacher for the Washington Township School District in the elementary schools in Indianapolis.
So Jennifer, let's talk about some of the skills that you learned along the way in real estate and banking. What's an important lesson that you learned that has helped you in every additional step of your career?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I could answer anything with that, right? So you'll hear some people say in business that it's important to fake it until you make it. And I absolutely wholeheartedly disagree with that, because you are not being transparent with your clients or your customers. You're not letting them know that, hey, I don't have to know all of the answers, but I do have to know who does know them, and I'll get back with you. When you adopt that philosophy of fake it till you make it, you are very disingenuous with your clientele and with your community, and people can read that. They're much more likely to be a loyal follower, a loyal customer, and a client forever if you're honest, transparent, and tell them, that's a good question. Let me check on that and I'll get back with you. It goes a lot farther than making something up.
Yeah, absolutely. And people can spot in not authenticity from a mile away.
Right. And even though I was in sales, I came from a heart of a teacher. And when you explain the why to people, or you give them the options to let them choose, they're more likely to refer your services to their friends because they didn't feel sold to. They didn't feel pressured into making a decision.
Nice. And so, Jennifer, you said that your husband had moved to downtown Indianapolis, and so that brought you here to Indy.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about how that transition was. And so you went from banking to working as a substitute teacher. So were some of those skills able to translate to your work as a teacher?
Yes. So a lot of the things that you learn when you're self-employed is how to read a room, how to read somebody's body language. And so I'd been in real estate over 27 years. I was in banking over 5 years. And so some of the tools that I just learned in that environment, very beneficial in what I did as a substitute teacher, because you don't know the systems, you don't know the what the kids are used to, what the classroom decorum normally is, and you need to be the boss when you first walk into that room. So maybe training puppies also helps you for that too. You've got to be the alpha with the calm, assertive energy when you walk in there. And so my greatest joy is when I fill in the special education department with the kids that are on the spectrum, and I go in to support that student, or I rotate out with that student. And what I learned in banking about teaching frontline employees to get all of their business, not just the transaction in front of them, has helped me with students that maybe excel in one subject and don't see a need to participate in another subject, but how you can translate that. For instance, if math is your thing and you hate art, if you talk about a video game and isn't it more fun to play a video game that has a lot more pixels, we need a few more pixels on this project you're working on. And so it's still art, but it's video games, it's math, it's things that they excel in, and they can translate that over into other fields. So that's what I love doing.
And so then that helps that student become excited about a topic that they weren't necessarily looking forward to.
That's exactly right.
So Jennifer, now let's talk about Rotary. How did you get involved with Rotary to begin with?
So when I moved, my business was in the Lafayette area. I didn't physically move because we lived halfway between Lafayette and Crawfordsville, conveniently equidistant between my mother and my husband's mother. So they could both come equally to visit the grandkids. So when I started my career in the Crawfordsville area, I didn't have a sphere of influence in Crawfordsville. And so the bank that I was working for encouraged involvement in service organizations. And so I was invited to a Rotary Club meeting in Crawfordsville, and I looked around and noticed that these are all my dad's friends. And so I already had relationships with a lot of these individuals. These were people that were decision makers and business leaders in the Montgomery County community. And so I started to get involved with them. They immediately asked me to serve on their board because I'm very organized and I'm very good with communication skills and email, most of all. So I started at that level, and then they slowly moved me into becoming club president. And by slowly, I mean within a year. We'll pick you. And so it was a great opportunity for me to serve and be well known in the community, but also bring business to the bank that I was working for because of my sphere of influence and my opportunities to serve. And so I'd been involved in other networking groups in my real estate career, and those were more strict about who you could refer business to. And you would have to stand up every week and say, I gave this much, these many referrals to these individuals. And it was an expectation of the networking group, which is great if that's what you wanted, that's the style that you like. But what I liked about Rotary is that we did service projects together, we did fundraisers together. You build a relationship with individuals, and like, for instance, we have a gentleman who owns a glass shop, and I had a rock go through my windshield. Well, who am I going to call? I'm going to call him because, number one, I've built trust with him because we've served alongside one another packing backpacks for food insecure kids, or we've done camping events at Camp Rotary in Crawfordsville, or we've done things together to where I know he's going to do his work with excellence, just like he did service with excellence. And so that's who I'm going to get my windshield repaired by, is him. I don't have to look in the old-fashioned yellow pages or do a Yelp review for a great place to eat or any of those things. It's the connections that I've made through Rotary that help me in the needs that I have for business services.
So Jennifer, that brings up an interesting point. Let's talk about the difference between a networking group and what Rotary is, because Rotary does have networking opportunities, but there's a much deeper connection that's happening there. So tell our viewers a little bit about the difference between the two.
So Rotary is an opportunity to serve in your community. Its motto is service above self. Rotary also has a code of conduct that we follow. There is what we call a four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? I mean, there's all of these things. We want it to be a code to live by and a way of life, so that if I'm a Rotarian, someone who is a member of a Rotary Club, I'm a Rotarian no matter where I go. So one of the things that's great about Rotary, yes, it's big in your local community. In fact, the Indianapolis area has 5, maybe 6
in Marion County now.
6 Marion County Rotary Clubs. Montgomery County has 1, but I have traveled throughout the United States and even overseas with Rotary as the district governor, and everywhere you go, it's a family. It's a family of Rotary, of people who are like-minded, who want to serve. And yes, we do classification, business interviews, we do speeches in our Rotary Club meetings to tell people what we do for our business, or maybe we're retired, what we did do, what our expertise, where our wisdom lies. Because just today I had coffee with someone who's retired, and he's an engineer, but he has a lot of experience in some things in Rotary within Central Indiana, and he was willing to meet me for coffee, and we had a great visit to talk about how we can make a better impact here in Central Indiana with, like, our foundation. Our foundation serves a lot of communities here in Central Indiana, and we're quite large as far as we go from Attica, Williamsport, as far down as Rockville. We come up around the Indianapolis area, go down to Shelbyville, and climb all the way up to Marion and Grant County, and come back around through the Lafayette area. So quite a large territory, and we have about 42 clubs and about 1,700 members just in the central part of Indiana. We have over 1.4 million members internationally, and we're well known around the world for what we do in all of those communities. Sometimes a Western culture will go into an Eastern or other culture and push themselves on them. And what I like about Rotary is that we partner with those Rotary clubs in those areas, so that whatever we're attempting to do is a sustainable project, a sustainable investment in their community, and that we're not, for lack of a better word, colonizing. We are partnering with those communities around the world. And so Crawfordsville, being my home club, has 2 international projects that they're known for. One is in Haiti, where they bring clean water to that community, but also in Mexico. We had a program where we were sending fire trucks and emergency vehicles and emergency equipment to Mexico pre-pandemic, and now that has grown to a much larger organization, but it was started with fire trucks from one of the members of the Crawfordsville Rotary Club.
Nice. And so that brings up a really good point, is that Rotary looks for opportunities to help where a community needs it, not just here in Indiana declaring what someone on the other side of the world might need. There's that opportunity to look and to ask, what do you need and how can we help, right?
That is correct, yes. And so we have a grant process. Some are district grants, some are global grants. And so what we've been talking about as far as projects in Haiti or Mexico or Uganda or Sierra Leone, there are many clubs here in the central Indiana area that do international projects or global grant worthy projects. And so the Rotary Foundation partners with us and multiple other districts and clubs in order to get a project going. If you wanted to look for Gift of Life, that is one that our district does. And it's mostly done through the Greenfield, Indiana Club. And they send doctors from Riley Hospital overseas to do surgeries on children that need heart surgery.
Wow.
And if there's a child that is in need and still they can't wait until the next time we send doctors over, we will fly them over to the United States and so they can have their surgery at Riley Hospital.
Wow. And so, Jennifer, that's extremely profound. And we're going to talk a lot more about what Rotary is doing here in central Indiana as well. But right now, we're going to take a break and we're going to preview a recently added video to the INSPIREsmall.biz library. So stay tuned. We have more from Jennifer Stanfield here in just a moment.
I had a difficult path and really struggled my way through. But I want to share something I've learned about how to sell yourself better. Because it matters. It matters more than you realize. I have been to so many networking events where people stand up and there's a spot that they're supposed to stand with an X on it and they hand them the microphone and they start and they say, thank you. And you're like, okay, I didn't get any of that. And this isn't about complaining, it's about this compassionate heart I have where I'm like, no, hold it up. I'm trying to encourage them because I believe that every one of us has a very important gift to bring. And if I can't hear you, if you don't speak up, stand up, show up, and get heard, the gift that you have to give and the people that need you will not make that connection. So here's what I'll say to you. The thing about sales is that everything we do in our lives is about sales. Everything you're eating off of, the chair that you're sitting on, the table that you're at, is only there because somebody successfully sold it to the people here, and you're darn glad you have these chairs, right? Otherwise, you'd be standing. So sales is everything in our lives every day. Go out on a date. You're either going to sell me on why we got to watch your movie, or I'm going to sell you on why it'll be a much better date night if you take me to a romantic comedy. So if sales is everything, how are we going to do it better? How are we going to do it and make that connection? Well, if you don't have the confidence that you need or the know-how, borrow it. Borrow it. How are we going to borrow it? The first thing that I would say to you is pick a character. Pick somebody that you can think of in your life, in your mind. They don't even have to be real. These can be characters from movies or books, but somebody that you can get an idea of what their personality is like.
Hey everyone, we're back with Jennifer Stanfield, District Governor for Rotary District 6560 here in central Indiana. So Jennifer, we were talking before the break about some of the international impact that Rotary has, but I want to make sure on this segment we're talking about some of the great things that are happening here in central Indiana. And so this year as your District Governor, you've been able to see a lot of the cool things that are happening. So let's talk about some of the projects that you've seen so far that are happening here in our own community.
Well, there are so many. I can tell you about the ones that qualified for district grants for matching funds from our district. There were over 20 clubs that applied for at least one grant. Some applied for 2 or 3 grants. We have been able to help. I would say there was a couple of them that asked for $500, which seems like a small amount, but every bit is helpful for each of our clubs. And so one of the Indianapolis Club, the Indianapolis Metro Club, is very passionate about bicycle riding and serving their community. And so one of their projects is called Cranksgiving, and they're going to ride bicycles buy groceries, deliver groceries for individuals that have been identified as food insecure, but they're combining their passion for biking and their passion for serving their fellow man. And so that was one of our smaller grants, but I think it's going to have a huge impact right here in Indianapolis. We have a club in the Lafayette area, the Lafayette Daybreak Club, where they are helping individuals who want to go to school to become a nurse that works in the mental health arena. And so they are providing scholarships for those individuals that want to go into mental health nursing.
Nice.
And so that's one of the things that we are definitely focusing on this year is removing the stigma associated with mental health. And we're offering training on crisis prevention, just like you have CPR training. There's a QPR training, and our district is partnering with Mental Health America in order to provide that for our members to get that training. There are clubs that are doing, several clubs that are doing food pantries that we are helping them with that, with our district grants. We have gosh, there are so many. Anything that you can think of that benefits the community, there's a Rotary Club out there trying to meet that need.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Jennifer, going back to the mental health topic that you were just talking about, the Rotary International president, Gordon McAnally, has made a huge effort to bring awareness to removing that stigma around mental health. So why don't you tell us a little bit about President Gordon's initiatives as well as his theme this year, because he has some really great information that's getting Rotarians excited to serve.
Thank you. Yes, this year, every year, Rotary has an internal theme that we focus all of our projects and opportunities to gather together based on the theme. So this year's theme is create hope in the world. And so Gordon would like for us to not only create hope in the world, but in our communities and within ourselves. And how are we going to do that? Number one, removing the stigma associated with mental health. This year is a great time for people to look at their mental fitness. We talk about our physical fitness. You can look at somebody like me, for instance, and say, well, she's not very physically fit, but by just looking at me, can you tell if I'm mentally fit? And so every single one of us has gone through a global crisis, a global pandemic. Every one of us. Now's a great time to talk about the things that we don't usually talk about. It's not a great thing to do to pull your own self up by your own bootstraps if you're struggling with mental health. When we moved to Indianapolis, I went through a lot of grieving because I gave up my home, my work, my church family, all of my connections. It was very hard for me. If I didn't have my Crawfordsville Rotary Club, I don't know where I would be, because every one of us needs that group that's considered an I'm okay group. Regardless of what you're going through, they love you, they support you, they're there for you. And for me, Crawfordsville Rotary was my I'm okay group. So removing that stigma associated with reaching out for help. I let them know I was having a hard time with this transition. I knew it was the right thing to do. It was the best thing for our family. That didn't make it easy. And so all of us have times in our life where we need a little help from our friends. And so the second of the three initiatives that Gordon McAnally wants us to focus on is taking one of the things that we learned during the pandemic about how great it is to be connected virtually. And so with Rotary clubs meeting on a weekly or a twice a month schedule, during the pandemic, we were Zooming in people from all over the world to be a presenter. And so Rotary offers fellowships and Rotary action groups for people who are interested in different topics. They are Rotarians and they want to be connected with people who love the same things. So there's a Bird Watchers Fellowship. There's a Brew Fellowship. Those are people who like to drink beer. There is a Heavy Metal Rock and Roll Fellowship that I've been telling everybody on your behalf is there. There are so many, there's too many for me to name them all, hundreds of fellowships. So if there's something that you're passionate about, there are other Rotarians out there as well. Rotary action groups are cause-based, and so if you're passionate about cleaning the Mississippi River, there are multiple Rotarians from multiple states that are in that Rotary action group. There's also a mental health awareness Rotary action group that you can be a part of. If you're in Rotary, go to rotary.org and click on Get Connected, and you'll find all of those. If you're not in Rotary, you can still go to rotary.org and find all kinds of things about Rotary, including videos about who we are and what we do. Now, the third and final initiative that Gordon McAnally would like for all of us to be thinking about as we're planning events and things is continuing something that was started 2 years ago by International President Shekhar Mehta, continued last year by our Jennifer Jones, who was the first woman to serve as International President for Rotary. And it's called the Empowering Girls Initiative. However, this year, we've decided to rebrand that because the word empower means you have no power, therefore let me give you some of mine. And so it has been rebranded this year. Same types of initiatives, but it's Unlocking the Power Within Girls initiative. And we may think that that's something that's overseas, small community, small village, somewhere remote. But we have little girls and women right here in central Indiana who could benefit from knowing they have power within themselves, that their opinions matter and their dreams matter. And there are a lot of projects that Rotary clubs are doing to help support that. So.
Well, so Jennifer, with Giving Tuesday being tomorrow and Rotary having so many great projects here in central Indiana and internationally, where can someone who's watching this make a donation if they want to help support any of the causes that Rotary is up to?
Thank you for that question, and thank you for having me right before Giving Tuesday, because it is so vital what we do. And the Rotary Foundation, which is our international foundation, has received the highest rating of 4 stars from Charity Navigator for 15 years in a row. Our foundation uses 91% of what you give. So every dollar you give, 91 cents goes towards the program or project or the service. And just a small portion goes toward the administration. Our central Indiana area also has a foundation, and we don't have much overhead on that at all. And I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm sure it's even a better return than what at the Rotary Foundation International one is, because we don't pay a salary to anyone. So our district foundation stays within our district for projects that happen within our district. And so the Gift of Life, for instance, that goes through our district foundation. There was a club that was wanting to do a dog park. That would go through our foundation. It is a 501c3. And if you go on our website, rotary6560.org/donate, you can find the page on how you can donate to the Rotary Foundation here in central Indiana, so that we can do those projects that are recognized by the local Rotary clubs as being beneficial for their community. And so we're always looking for more projects, more opportunities. And so if there's a Rotary club in your area, you can go on rotary.org and look for clubs in my area, and maybe you have a project idea that club is really looking forward to working on. So there's just a lot of ways that you can connect, but because it's Giving Tuesday, I really hope that you will select the Rotary Foundation of Central Indiana, District 6560. The legal name of it is the World and Community Service Foundation, and I hope you'll go to rotary6560.org and click on that donate page.
And so, Jennifer, we're about at the midway point of your term as district governor. What is something that you have learned about Rotary this year that you did not know prior to taking office?
Well, one of the things that I've learned is how connected we all are. truly. Sometimes when you get involved in a Rotary Club and you're very active in your local community, you don't really notice what's going on around you in other Rotary clubs. But as district governor, you travel around to all of the clubs for an official visit in your district, but then you also go to larger events where other district governors are gathering, where you can collaborate and talk about projects that worked well in their district that might be something that you can do. So what I've learned this year is how connected we truly are and what we are as a family, not necessarily a network, but yes, we're a network, but it's more like we're a family. Everywhere you go, you'll find somebody wearing the Rotary logo that you can connect with and have commonality with, and you share the same heart for serving your community.
And Jennifer, that brings up an excellent point, is that once you have joined Rotary, even here in your community, anywhere in the world that there's a Rotary Club, you can go and visit, you can meet other Rotarians and learn about the great things they're doing as well.
That's right. This past summer, I got to go to Melbourne, Australia.
Nice.
And met lots of Rotarians from all over the world at International Convention.
And so coming up, looking way forward from this episode all the way to May the 4th of 2024, one of the speakers that you have lined up is from Australia, correct?
That is correct. Evan Burrell will be with us on May the 4th, Star Wars Day, our district conference date, and it'll be in Westfield. And he's coming all the way from Australia to talk to us about Rotary and how we can do a better job of telling our story, especially here in the United States. Rotary is huge on the international front, but in the United States, not everybody knows exactly who we are because we're not comfortable sharing our story. We don't want to brag, and I think, I don't think of it as bragging, but I think of it as letting people know what we do so that they can join with us.
Absolutely. So Jennifer, one more time, give people the website that they would go to if they want to make a donation to Rotary this Giving Tuesday.
So this Giving Tuesday, go to Rotary6560.org for our local district Rotary. It's Central Indiana, and make sure you tell them Jennifer sent you.
Awesome. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for being our guest on today's episode of the Bright Ideas Show. To everyone watching, to make a donation to the Rotary District 6560 Foundation, visit www.rotary6560.org/donate and make sure you tell them that Jennifer Stanfield, our district governor this year, has sent you. Make sure to stay tuned to hear about upcoming events here from INSPIREsmall.biz. Hey everyone, join us for these upcoming events from INSPIREsmall.biz. On Wednesday, November 29th, we have our next Business First Networking at Old National Bank in Greenwood, Indiana. This meeting is 10 o'clock a.m. to 11 o'clock a.m., and that's 900 South State Road 135 in Greenwood. Then join us Friday, December 1st at 11 o'clock a.m. for the next Sparks Lunch at Giacomo Pizza, 9165 Otis Avenue in Indianapolis. This meeting is free to attend. You just purchase your own lunch. You'll get to see a recent Sparks After Hours speaker and discuss amongst your table your biggest takeaway from that talk. Then join us on Thursday, December 7th for the next Keystone Business Connections at Old National Bank, 4805 East 96th Street in Indianapolis, 2 o'clock p.m. until 3 o'clock p.m. Then join us for the unveiling of the 2024 INSPIREsmall.biz calendar on Friday, December 8th, 3 o'clock p.m. until 6 o'clock p.m. at Refinery 46, 2201 East 46th Street in Indianapolis. This event will unveil the entire 2024 INSPIREsmall.biz calendar, as well as a special live-streamed business spotlight where everyone who attends gets 45 seconds with a microphone to talk about their business. And finally, join us for the last event of 2023, Sparks After Hours, on Wednesday, December 13th. Our theme for the month is family. Doors open at 5 o'clock p.m. Northside Events and Social Club, 2100 East 71st Street in Indianapolis. Our speakers this month are Jamie Hopper with Money Concepts, Sarah Kendrick with Rhea Services, and Kara Long with the Memory Collective. INSPIREsmall.biz members can attend for free. Guest tickets are just $10. For these and more great events from INSPIREsmall.biz and our members, visit www.inspiresmall.biz/events. Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Bright Ideas Show. We'll see you next week.